The evening hums with quiet elegance. Crystal glasses clink, laughter spills over flickering candlelight, and a string quartet plays softly in the background. Emma Carter adjusts the strap of her satin dress, feigning interest in the idle chatter around her. Across the room, Daniel, her husband of 10 years, commands attention. His effortless charm draws people in, their admiration evident in every nod and lingering glance. She remembers when that charm was hers alone. Emma watches him, searching for the man she married. The one who once whispered stolen promises into her ear, whose touch sent shivers down her spine. Now he is a stranger in a well-tailored suit, exchanging pleasantries with people who matter more to him than she does. "Emma dear, are you all right?" The voice of Olivia, her closest friend, pulls her back. Olivia's sharp eyes miss nothing, and Emma forces a smile. Of course she lies. But she isn't. She hasn't been for a long time. Later in the car, silence stretches between them. Daniel scrolls through his phone, his face bathed in cold light. "Did you have a good time?" she asks, forcing lightness into her tone. He exhales sharply, barely looking up. "It was fine. Same people, same conversations." Emma turns toward the window, watching the city blur past. Once they couldn't wait to get home, couldn't wait to be alone. Now even in the same space they feel miles apart. When they reach their house, Daniel disappears into his study without a word. Emma lingers in the hallway, staring at the closed door, debating whether to knock. Instead she walks past it, the ache in her chest settling in as a familiar companion. The next afternoon, she finds herself at the art gallery, a sanctuary of color and quiet. She strolls through the exhibits, letting the paintings speak in ways Daniel no longer does. Looking for something in particular, the voice startles her. She turns and meets the gaze of a man she doesn't recognize, tall, with tousled brown hair and an easy confidence. A hint of paint lingers on his fingertips. "I just came to clear my head," she admits. He studies her for a moment, then gestures toward a nearby painting. A swirl of blues and grays, movement trapped on canvas. "That one reminds me of a storm brewing." Emma tilts her head. It feels more restless than angry. His lips quirk in interest. "Restless. I like that." Something in his expression unnerves her, not in fear, but in familiarity. It has been a long time since someone looked at her like this. Not as a fixture in the background but as someone worth truly seeing. She extends a hand. "Emma." "Ryan Walker," he replies, shaking it. His grip is firm, warm. "Do you believe in fate, Emma?" She almost laughs. The notion seems absurd. "Not really." Ryan shrugs. "Then let's call it coincidence." They talk about art, about colors and meaning. For the first time in years, Emma feels present, like a piece of herself has been dusted off and set in the light. When she finally glances at her watch, an hour has slipped away. "I should go," she says, feeling something unsettling, something dangerously close to longing. Ryan nods but doesn't move. "It was nice meeting you, Emma." As she walks away, she doesn't turn back. But she can feel his gaze on her, a weight that lingers long after she's gone. That evening, Emma sets the table for two, though she already knows how the night will unfold. Daniel arrives late, distracted. His lips press briefly to her cheek before he murmurs, "Work ran over." He tries. She asks about his day, shares pieces of hers, but his responses are clipped, absent. He barely notices when she mentions the gallery. Later in bed, she watches him as he sleeps, his breathing even, his body turned away. In the darkness, she allows herself a single dangerous thought. When was the last time she felt awake? The morning light filters through gauzy curtains, painting soft gold streaks across the bedroom floor. Emma stirs, stretching her limbs as she listens to the quiet hum of the world waking up. Daniel's side of the bed is empty, as it often is these days. The faint scent of his cologne lingers, but the man himself is long gone, already swallowed by the demands of his career. She pulls the covers tighter around her, willing herself to ignore the strange hollowness in her chest. By noon, she finds herself back at the gallery. It isn't intentional, at least that's what she tells herself. The quiet hum of the space soothes her, a stark contrast to the noise in her head. She wanders through the exhibits, trailing her fingers lightly along the edge of a sculpture. And then she senses him. Back so soon. Ryan's voice carries a teasing lilt, smooth as a brushstroke on canvas. Emma turns to find him watching her. His arms crossed, an amused smile playing at the corners of his lips. There's a smudge of charcoal on his wrist, a mark of creativity, of passion. I suppose I needed another distraction, she admits, surprising herself with her own honesty. Ryan steps closer, just enough to make her breath hitch. And am I a good distraction, Emma? She swallows, a heat rising in her that has nothing to do with the afternoon sun filtering through the gallery windows. I barely know you, she says, a weak defense against the growing pull between them. He grins, tilting his head slightly. Then let's fix that. Before she can protest, he gestures toward a small corner of the gallery where a private exhibit is being set up. He leads her past roped-off sections, through a doorway that smells of fresh paint and varnish. Inside, the space is intimate, almost secretive. A single painting stands in the center of the room, covered by a white cloth. Ryan steps forward, grips the fabric, and pulls it away with a flourish. Emma inhales sharply. The painting is striking, moody swirls of blue and silver, light breaking through darkness. There's something achingly familiar about it, something that tugs at a place deep inside her. It's beautiful, she murmurs, reaching out as if to touch it. Ryan watches her closely. It reminded me of you. Her gaze snaps to his, uncertainty flickering in her chest. You don't even know me. Ryan shrugs, unbothered. I know how you look at the world. How you seem lost in it. The truth in his words unsettles her. It's the kind of truth Daniel has never bothered to see. Emma shifts on her feet, suddenly restless. I should go. Ryan doesn't stop her. He simply nods, the ghost of a smirk lingering on his lips. See you around, Emma. That night, Emma sits across from Daniel at the dinner table, but she might as well be dining alone. His phone is in his hand, his brow furrowed in concentration as he scrolls through endless emails. She clears her throat. Daniel. He barely glances up. She grips her fork a little tighter. Can we talk? Talking now, aren't we? He doesn't look up. Frustration curls inside her. About us. That gets his attention. He sighs, setting his phone aside but not before checking the screen one last time. Emma, I know I've been busy, but you know why. Work is stressful. I'm doing this for us. She forces a breath through her nose. Are you? Because it doesn't feel that way. Daniel leans back in his chair, rubbing a hand over his face. Not this again. Emma's chest tightens. You make it sound like I'm imagining things. He doesn't answer, just shakes his head and reaches for his phone again. The conversation is over before it even began. As she clears the plates, a cold realization settles over her. She has been waiting for Daniel to notice her, to reach for her, to fight for what they once had. But he won't. And for the first time, she wonders if she is tired of waiting. Emma stands at the sink, hands submerged in warm, soapy water. The rhythmic scrape of the plate against the sponge should be soothing, but her mind is elsewhere, trapped in the silence of her marriage, in the widening distance between herself and Daniel. She glances toward the dining room, where he remains glued to his laptop, a familiar scene. His brow furrows as he types, fingers moving with the urgency he never spares for her. A week ago, she might have tried harder, pressed for conversation, fought to be heard. But something has shifted. She dries her hands and reaches for her phone. Before she can second-guess herself, she types a message. Are you at the gallery today? The reply comes almost instantly. Always. The walk to the gallery feels different this time, charged with an energy she refuses to name. She tells herself she's going for the art, for the peace it offers. But deep down she knows better. When she arrives, Ryan is waiting. Not inside, not among the paintings, but outside, leaning against the brick facade with a knowing smirk. "You're predictable," he teases. Emma folds her arms. "Or maybe you just knew I'd come." His grin deepens. "Maybe." For a moment they simply stand there, the air between them humming with something unspoken. Then Ryan pushes off the wall, jerking his head toward the street. "Come on." She hesitates. "Where?" "Somewhere quieter." She should say no. She should turn around, go home, pretend this was never a choice she entertained. Instead, she follows him. The cafe is tucked into a quiet corner of the city, the kind of place that smells like cinnamon and old books. They take a table near the window, where sunlight pools over weathered wood, casting long shadows. Ryan orders for both of them, black coffee for him, lavender tea for her. The small detail catches her off guard. "You remembered," she murmurs. He tilts his head. Of course. Daniel never remembers. The thought arrives unbidden, unwelcome, but it lingers. They talk and it's easy. Too easy. Ryan listens, really listens, his gaze steady, his responses thoughtful. There is no impatience, no dismissive nods, no hurried glances at a phone screen. At some point, he reaches across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. It's the lightest touch, but it sends a shiver through her, the kind that settles deep in her bones. "Emma," he says softly. She doesn't pull away. Doesn't want to. And that terrifies her. When she returns home, the weight of her afternoon presses against her chest. She doesn't know what she expected. Guilt, maybe, or some overwhelming urge to confess. Instead, she feels nothing. Daniel is where she left him, at his desk surrounded by paperwork, his mind somewhere far from her. She lingers in the doorway, watching him, waiting for something, some sign that this marriage isn't already a ghost of what it once was. Finally, he notices her. "Hey," he says, barely looking up. Just that. "Hey." Not "I missed you." Not "Where were you?" Not "Come here, sit with me, tell me what's on your mind." Emma forces a smile and steps away, her unspoken choice settling between them. And Daniel, as always, doesn't even see it.